Good morning, guys. Welcome to the Monday, June 10th edition of the MMAOB Daily Show. I'm your host, as always, Adam Martin. Going to be taking you through the latest in MMA. Today, going to be talking about UFC 238, some other fight announcements that were out there. But first and foremost, follow me on Twitter at MMAdamMartin. Follow this podcast at MMAOddsbreaker.com. That's our home. Follow us on YouTube. Please subscribe to the channel. I appreciate that. Also, follow me at my other websites, sherdog.com, bjpen.com, MMAnews.com, and MMAratings.net. So check me out all those places, guys. Lot to talk about today. Great card in the weekend. I want to get into that. First and foremost, though, got to give a shout out to my Raptors. They're playing against the Warriors tonight. They win the championship. So I'm rooting for them, guys. I can't wait. The country of Canada is going to go nuts if that happens. Someone who's been born and raised in Toronto his whole life. This is a pretty special moment. So really hope it happens. But hopefully tomorrow morning I'll talk about how they won the championship, what happened in the game. But let's get right into UFC 238 because that's why you guys are here. You're here to talk about MMA, and that's why I'm here too. So, like I said, great card. I do the play-by-play for Sherdog, so we'll check that out if you missed the card. But so much to talk about, guys. First and foremost, let's just go start from the main event, go all the way down the card. Henry Cejudo. I mean, what else can you say about this guy? An incredible performance against Marlon Moraes. Wow, I'm just blown away by this guy, honestly, guys. Incredible. He's just an amazing fighter, amazing talent. 5 straight wins now for Henry Cejudo. Gets better and better every time we see him. That's the thing that impresses me about this guy. He's not getting worse. He's getting better at age 32. He's improving every time he steps in the octagon. So this was a really good fight, good performance. First round, he lost. There's no doubt about it. Marlon Moraes came out throwing some nasty kicks. I was like, wow, okay, so Moraes is going to use kicks to control range. Kind of how I thought the fight would play out, to be honest with you. But he started to get tired. Second round, Henry Cejudo made a really good adjustment in between the first and second round where he became the aggressor because the first round, Marlon was the aggressor. He was moving forward, throwing kicks, throwing punches. Henry was kind of circling away from him. Second round, Henry was the one moving forward. He started moving forward, throwing punches and kicks at Marlon, landing some good strikes, won the second round. Third round, that's where Henry Cejudo really came to life. Marlon Moraes got very tired. You have to criticize Marlon here. Even Henry said that in the post-fight press conference. He said, you got to discredit Marlon because his cardio didn't hold up in this fight, and that's disappointing. I mean, this guy's been 5 rounds multiple times in the WSOF, so very disappointing he wasn't able to go the full 5 rounds. But Henry, you got to credit him and his cardio. I mean, the guy got better as the fight went on. Third round, for me, what changed the fight were those nasty, nasty knees, the body and the face from the clinch. Just incredible. We actually, if you remember, that's how Henry Cejudo got finished by Demetrius Johnson from these knees. So he's learned from his losses, clearly. He started kneeing Marlon, face and stomach. That took a lot out of Marlon. And, Marlon almost made it to the end of the third round, but he just couldn't do it. Henry took him down to the ground, started beating the hell out of him. Good stoppage by the referee, handing Marlon Moraes the victory. So, again, 5 straight wins, 3 of those wins by knockout. He's currently riding a 5-fight win streak that includes one of the most impressive 3-fight stretchers ever in MMA. Demetrius Johnson, TJ Dillashaw, and Marlon Moraes. That's incredible. I mean, this guy, what he's doing out there is amazing. Nothing but impressed by him. Again, for Marlon, disappointed in his performance. After 4 straight wins, including 3 straight first-round finishes, I was expecting more from him in this fight, but I think this is Henry Cejudo's day, so good for him. He's a double champion, one of the few in MMA history in the UFC. He's the flyweight champ and the bantamweight champion. Dana White says the flyweight division is sticking around, so we'll see what's next for Henry Cejudo. He could go back down. He could stay at 135. I'm not sure. We'll talk about some of the other contenders in a few minutes. After the fight, he did make a couple call-outs. He called out Dominic Cruz, Cody Garbrandt, and Uriah Faber. Now, I'm not really interested in any of those fights, but I can see what he's doing. He wants money fights. He wants to fight guys with big names, so I can see why he's doing that. There's other guys, again, I'll talk about them in a few minutes, that deserve that fight more, but I can see what he's doing. He also said, I want heavy money. I want to make more money. I have to talk to Dana White about renegotiating my contract. Hopefully that happens. He deserves it. He really does. I mean, this guy, I'm not saying he's the face of the UFC by any means. He hasn't proven that at all. I don't know how these pay-per-views are going to do for this card. Probably not that great, although I do think that has something to do with the ESPN Plus thing. But either way, the guy's clearly building as a star, and I think Dana recognizes that. And he's I think, arguably already a bigger draw than Mighty Mouse was, which is, it's sad but true. I mean, Mighty Mouse is an amazing fighter. Don't get me wrong. I want to see that trilogy fight, by the way. I mean, if there's any fight out there that I could pick for Henry next, it would be a third fight against Demetrius, who beat him the first time, arguably beat him the second time. Henry took him a split decision last summer. I'd love to see that trilogy. It won't happen. Demetrius is in one. Actually, his new fight got announced today. He's fighting someone I'm not too familiar with. But, for Henry, I mean, I don't know. Like, I can see why he's calling out guys like Cruz and Faber, but they're so old. I don't know, man. We'll see. If Faber beats Ricky Simon, they might give him that title shot. Like, I personally have a lot of interest in that fight, but I could see that happening. We all know it's the money fight era. The UFC thinks that Faber sells more shows than someone like Sterling or Yan, then they might sneak in Faber to the next title shot. But, Cruz is injured. Garbrandt's out for a while. He's on 3 straight losses. No chance in hell he gets a title shot. We'll see. I mean, who knows at this point? But either way, it's pretty cool, man. This guy's a double champ. And, again, amazing performance by him. Henry Cejudo is the man. That's all I can say. And I got to stop doubting this guy. I mean, I'm not the only one who's out there picking against him. I just think the other fighters are so good. But clearly Henry's an amazing fighter. And congrats again to Henry Cejudo, who's a double champ in the UFC. Okay, so co-main event. Oh, man. This was a mismatch of epic proportions, guys. Huge mismatch. Valentina Shevchenko against this guy. We all know the odds were that for that fight. I think Valentina closed at like minus 1250 or something. So massive odds in her favor. And I mean, for the most part, she showed it. First round, she took Jessica down. She landed some nasty body kicks first and then took her down and controlled her on the mat. It was a very dominant first round for Valentina. Then the second round, again, started landing that body kick, and then all of a sudden, bang, head kick out of nowhere, knocked Jessica out cold. Brutal knockout. First of all, it's amazing that Valentina, by inside the distance, was available plus money. I mean, this was a huge mismatch. Sure, she finishes some of her, sure, she doesn't finish some of her fights, but look at who she didn't finish. Holly Holm, Joanna, and Sarah Copland. Those are really tough fighters. She's finished everyone else in the octagon. So besides Nunez, obviously, who she lost to. So, I mean, she is a finisher. Jessica, yeah, sure. You can look at her record and be like, oh, she didn't get finished in the UFC. She never fought someone like Valentina for the most part. So I'm not surprised at all. I thought that was going to happen. I was kind of leaning towards a submission. First round, that's what it looked like was going to happen. But, Valentina's so well-rounded. Brutal knockout. I mean, she's amazing. I can't see anyone beating her. I really can't. Not at 125. Again, we'll talk about some of the fighters in the prelims. It could be next in line in a few minutes. But, I just can't see anyone standing a chance against her. The only fight that really makes sense as far as competitive goes is a trilogy fight against Nunez. But she's already lost to her twice. And Nunez is obviously bigger. And she's fighting at 135 and 145. So I don't know if Valentina is going to get that fight time soon. Down the road, maybe, hopefully. I'd like to see a trilogy. But right now, I can't see anyone even standing a chance against Valentina. I think she could be a dominant champion in the UFC. She could be like Anderson Silva. She could be like Demetrius Johnson, where she holds the belt for a long time. But again, she's probably going to be fighting lesser competition that she just destroys. So great performance by her, Jessica. Joe Rogan called it a courageous performance. I don't know about that. I mean, she got destroyed. It was a mismatch. Not her fault. She took the fight. She deserved a title shot based on kind of the lack of quality fighters in that division, to be perfectly honest. I mean, it's not the deepest division in the UFC. There are some other contenders at this point that could get that title shot next. But, I mean, Jessica was just completely unmatched in this fight. Amazing performance by Valentina, just a brutal knockout by head kick. And Henry and Valentina both won $50,000 performance of the night bonuses, and it's really hard to disagree with that. I mean, they both deserved it. Okay, so next up, very good fight here between Donald Cerrone and Tony Ferguson. We all know that everyone thought this should have been the main event anyways. It was the people's main event, and for me, it lived up to the hype. I mean, this is a great fight. Didn't last as long as we all wanted. I wish it was a 5-round fight, but either way, it didn't last the 5 rounds. It didn't last 3. Excellent fight. Tony Ferguson wins by second round doctor stoppage. So let's talk about the fight here. I mean, first off, again, competitive fight, great fight. On paper, we knew it was going to be a close fight. First round, it played out. It was very close in the first round. Cerrone was landing some good jabs, good low kicks. Ferguson was doing a good job with his jab and his kicks. I think at Sherdog, we all scored the first round for Cerrone. The judges actually came out later and they showed their scorecards. 2 of them had it for Ferguson, 1 had it for Cerrone. But I think you could have gave it to Donald. But the second round is really where Tony took over the fight. He looked incredible in that second round. It didn't look like he was doing much with that jab. Like, it didn't look like those were powerful punches, but they were really adding up. And By the end of the second round, Cerrone's face was a bloody mess. He couldn't see. His eye was busted. In between rounds, he made the unfortunate mistake of blowing his nose, which we know in combat sports you're not supposed to do. It just blew his eye open. We know now he, I think, had a fractured orbital bone. So he's going to be out for a while, of course. And the doctor forced a stop to the fight. Of course, there was some controversy here at the end of the second round. Ferguson did land a late punch right after the bell. It's on the referee to step in there, I think, a little bit sooner. Yes, the bell rang, but we've seen that happen before, and the referee has got to step in sooner. It's not good that Tony threw that punch. I don't think it affected the fight, though. I think Tony was going to destroy him in the third round because Cerrone couldn't see. That's the honest to God truth. He could not see in the eye. He was like this. He was a warrior. He's gonna fight. I don't blame his corner for sending him out there. I mean, the guy, he's fought through horrible injuries in the past, but he couldn't see, and the doctor made the right call stopping the fight. You can't have a guy out there with one eye fighting a guy like Ferguson, who's just a destroyer of the world. So I think it's a legitimate win. Dana White said afterward that they're talking about a rematch. I don't want to see the rematch. Not anytime soon. I mean, down the road, sure. 5 rounds down the road, sure. It makes sense in the future. Not right now. Tony deserves a title shot. Let me go through some numbers with Tony Ferguson. So he's 15-1 in the UFC. That's incredible. And he's on a 12-fight win streak, which is, I believe, like the 5th or 6th longest in UFC history behind John Jones, Anderson Silva, GSP, Demetrius Johnson, and Max Holloway. So he's the 6th longest win streak of all time. He deserves a title shot. Khabib has 11 straight wins, by the way, so Tony's got one more than him. We know Khabib's fighting Dustin Poirier at UFC 242. Tony deserves the winner of that fight. If any other fight doesn't make sense at this point, it's just ridiculous. Maybe he could fight Conor just because that'd be a big money fight and Tony deserves a big payday, but he wants a title shot. He deserves it. Everyone knows he's the number 1 contender in the world. He might be the best lightweight in the world. I don't know. Like, I'd like to see that fight with Khabib. We know it's fallen through a few times. Last year, he tripped on a cable during an interview and he blew his knee out. It sucks, but it happens. He's bounced back since then with back-to-back wins over Anthony Pettis and Donald Cerrone by stoppage. And he's beating these guys so bad they can't even continue the fight. It's just incredible what he's doing. So, to me, Tony Ferguson's a special fighter, man. I mean, his record 25-3 in MMA. He won the Ultimate Fighter. If you include the Ultimate Fighter, he's 18-1 in the UFC. I mean, that's so sick. This guy's a ridiculously good fighter. Lost once in his career to Michael Johnson. He broke his arm in that fight, still won 3 rounds. And it's amazing how many people were just kind of writing him off and saying, oh, he's going through personal issues. He's not going to win this fight against a guy who's like Cerrone's red hot. Sure, Cerrone's red hot. Tony Ferguson's a different animal. Amazing performance here by Tony Ferguson. I mean, I was blown away by this guy. Again, some people were saying it was a competitive fight, and it was for the first round, but the second round was not competitive. Tony Ferguson was taking over. He would have finished Donald Cerrone in the third round. I have no doubt about that. So Cerrone, if anything, was saved by the doctor, saved by that eye injury. He could have been badly knocked out or submitted or something bad. So, again, rematch down the road, sure, not right now. Right now, Tony Ferguson should take the summer off, chill, probably get ready just in case there is an injury for Khabib and Poirier in September, but he deserves that title shot next. There's no doubt about it. Any other fight doesn't make sense except for maybe Conor, but anything else doesn't make sense. Not a rematch with Cerrone, not a fight against Justin Gaethje, although that'd be a great fight. Doesn't make sense. The guy deserves a title shot. 12-fight win streak doesn't lie. And for Donald, I mean, it was still a good fight, but again, time and time again, this guy he's gone on long win streaks and then he loses the big fight, and it happened again here. So I think he just ran into a great fighter. It happens, but I wasn't really buying him as a top contender, despite the last couple of wins. Although he looked amazing in those fights, I still wasn't buying him as an elite guy like Tony Ferguson, like Khabib. I don't think he could compete with those guys. And we saw what happened here, where Tony Ferguson won by doctor stoppage in the second round. So that one fight of the night, by the way, of course, I think we were all predicting that. The top 3 fights in this card were just amazing. So I think the card, if you bought the pay-per-view, you were happy with the purchase because the fights, the last 3 fights that everyone wanted to see ended in the fashions that people wanted to see. The rest of the card, there was some up and down. There were some good fights, some bad fights. Let's just go through them. Peter Yan beats Jimmy Rivera by unanimous decision. Very, very close fight. You know what? Jimmy Rivera was actually winning this fight, but at the end of the first and second round, he got dropped by Yan, and he lost both those rounds because he got knocked down with 10 seconds left in both rounds, excuse me. I don't think I've ever seen a fight like this before where a guy was winning the whole round and got dropped at the end of the first and second rounds. We've seen guys, win a round and then get dropped and lose the round. I don't think I've seen it happen in 2 rounds in one fight. So, I think Rivera actually looked good in this fight. I mean, he's coming off a loss now. Now he's actually lost 3 of his last 4 fights. This is a guy that won 20 straight fights at one point. So it's disappointing what happened to him. in his last couple of fights, but I think he's still a top 10 guy in that division. He looked pretty good in this fight. For Peter Yan, though, I mean, this shows that the guy can compete with anyone in the world. He's on a 5-fight win streak in the UFC now. He's on an 8-fight win streak overall. He's an incredible talent. Does he get a title shot off this win? He asked for one. I don't know. There's another guy in the prelims. I'm going to talk about one sec here. I think deserves a little bit more, but I think Yan's up there. I just don't know if this is the kind of fight that Henry Cejudo wants. First off, it's a dangerous fight against a guy with a lot of knockout power in Peter Yan, who doesn't have a name. So I don't think Henry Cejudo would take this fight. I just don't see him and Ali, his manager, saying this is the kind of fight we want next. Who knows? It could happen, but I think Yan probably needs another win. Again, solid win, good fight, really good fight, competitive fight, but he needs another win before he gets the title shot, in my opinion, anyways. And opening up the main card, again, I have no idea why this opened up the main card. And me and Cole Sheldon talked about this last week. Like, what a bad decision by the UFC. Blagoy-Ivanov wins a decision over Tybura. I picked Blagoy here as the underdog. It was a good pick, probably one of my better picks tonight. I actually did okay in this card, 8-5, so not bad. Better than last week, that's for ssure. But yeah, Blagoy, he dropped Tybura in the first round. That pretty much changed the fight. I think Tybura actually, he looked good in the beginning of the fight. He was outstriking Blagoy, but Blagoy landed a nice punch, and that changed the fight. After that, it was kind of smooth sailing for Blagoy. He just kind of outstruck Tybura, clinched him against the cage. It was an ugly fight. Geez, like I don't know what the hell the UFC was thinking putting this on the main card. I think a lot of us thought this is going to be a grinding affair. Yeah, Tybura's got a lot of KOs, but this guy's a very limited fighter. I mean, okay, first off, let's talk about Blagoy. He's 2-1 now in the UFC. He lost to JDS. Now he's won back-to-back fights against Rothwell and Tybura. So that's not bad. It'd be nice to see him finish some guys, but he's fighting some tough guys. So this win probably puts him around the top 10 in that division, sad as it is to say. At least the top 15 for sure. I don't know who's next for him. We'll see. But for Tybura, this is disappointing. He's only 26, so he's young, but he drops down to 3-2 in the UFC. And if you look at his record, okay, so he started off his career with 5 straight knockout wins in Australia, and he was looking like a great prospect. He came to UFC. He fought Rashad Golder. I loved him in that matchup, knocked him out with a flying knee. I loved him against Cyril Lasker. He knocked him out. I loved him against Andre Arlovski too, and he won a very close decision that arguably he lost that fight. That was last year in Chicago, so he's fighting in Chicago for some reason. But that fight kind of showed me this guy's ceiling is kind of limited. Got destroyed by JDS, and then now he loses to Blagoy. So he's got a lot of work to do. He really does. He's a popular guy. He's got a fun personality. I get that. He'll get another fight in the UFC, and he's a young guy. He's a heavyweight. He'll fight someone. He could fight someone like Chris De La Roca next. Just get him back on track. They got to build his confidence back up. I think his confidence is very shaky right now, but he's got a lot of stuff to work on. His grappling needs work. His striking defense needs work. His cardio is not good. So he's got a lot to work on. But, Blagoy is just a tough dude, and he outlasted him. This is a guy who got stabbed in the heart. He's a tough dude and wins the fight. So good for Blagoy, but not an impressive fight and really should not have been on the main card. Let's go through the prelims now. Some interesting fights here. The main event of the prelims, Tatiana Suarez beats Nina Ansaroff by unanimous decision, but this was a close fight. 29-28, all the scorecards. If this was a 5-round fight, I think she would have lost. I think Ansaroff would have won this fight. Suarez did look good in the first 2 rounds. She used the wrestling. She controlled Ansaroff on the ground. She pushed her against the fence. But Ansaroff is actually making life very difficult for her. Her takedown defense did look a little better in this fight. Also, Suarez even said afterwards she was very she praised the corner of Ansaroff, Amanda Nunes and the other coaches at ATT. They're talking about how they were saying all the right things to her. And again, she was defending the takedowns well, and even on the ground, she was doing a good job fighting off her back. The 3rd round, Suarez was absolutely exhausted, and Ansaroff, she doesn't have finishing power, and that's why she couldn't finish this fight. But she outstruck her, and she stuffed all her takedowns, and she won that round. So, unfortunately, it was a little too late. Suarez wins the fight by decision. She'll move on to bigger and better things, but there's no way that she's going to fight for a title next. There's no chance. Even Dana White said afterwards, I have rushed people before. I am not going to do this with this girl. She needs more time. She needs more fights. She has to fight someone else. Dana White also said Michelle Waterson is not going to get the next title shot. We'll see if he's lying about that or not. I don't know. I mean, right now, if Suarez fought Jessica Andrade, she would get destroyed in my opinion. I couldn't see that being a competitive fight, and I couldn't see Waterson being competitive either. I think Jessica destroys either of them. So, for Suarez, maybe a Waterson fight makes sense next. I'm just going to pull rankings out here, guys. Give me 1 second here. I just don't know what else it could be next for Jessica. I mean, the Rose rematch is a possibility at this point, I think. Suarez, she is ranked number 2 right now. I'm looking at the rankings, but I don't think she's ready. So it's just going to depend what the UFC wants to do. Do they want to give the rematch to Rose? Otherwise, Dana says Washington's ranked too low. I'm not buying it completely. She could get that shot. Maybe rematch Joanna against Jessica, but I don't want to see Suarez fight for the title next. She doesn't deserve it after this win. She's still a great prospect. She's still an amazing prospect. She has a lot to work on. And, it was interesting, I thought, that she was making those comments about the corner of Ansaroff. She trains at a small camp. She trains at Millennia. It's a smaller camp. I think that, Suarez should consider a camp changer. What she's doing is working to a certain extent, but this was supposed to be her breakout, and she did not break out. It's arguable her stock actually dropped in this fight despite winning. So to me, she goes to ATT, she goes to AKA, one of those big camps. AKA makes a lot of sense. I mean, all those wrestlers there, she could learn a lot from them. She's got to switch camps. She's got to go somewhere where she can learn and get better. Right now, she's a good fighter, but I think her ceiling is a little bit limited training at where she is. So, we'll see what happens for her next. But I think, if anything, Ansaroff's stock actually went up here because she was expected to be blown out, and she actually made it a very close fight. So, it was an average fight overall. Now, here's a great fight here. Oh, man. This was probably the best fight of the night up until the Cerrone-Ferguson fight. Aljamain Sterling against Pedro Munoz. Sterling wins a unanimous decision, 30-27 on all cards. I think I had it 29-28 for Munoz. I think I gave him the second round. It was a competitive fight, but clearly Sterling's win. I mean, I was blown away by his performance, too. He looked great in this fight. Sterling's looked amazing lately. After that loss to Marlon Moraes, he's just really turned his career around. Really impressive. 4 straight wins now. 4 straight wins over Brett Johns, Cody Stamann, Junior Rivera, and Pedro Munoz. So to me, that should be enough to get a title shot. But again, it's going to depend on what Cejudo wants to do. Does he think this is a big enough fight for him? There's no doubt, though, that I think that Sterling deserves a shot. Yeah, it was in the prelims, and yeah, it was in the main card. I don't think that matters, though. I think Sterling beat a better fighter than Munoz. I think Munoz is a little bit better than Junior Rivera at this point, despite losing to him earlier in his career. And Munoz was coming off that knockout win over Cody Garbrandt. So this was a tremendous performance by Aljamain Sterling. He just looked so good. His movement was what really stood out to me. He moved around so well in the octagon. He's outstruck Pedro Munoz. He was transported to the hospital. He might have some serious injuries. I don't know yet. I'm not 100% sure what happened, but could have just been precautionary. But yeah, it was a war. I mean, it was a brutal fight. Both guys were laying nasty kicks, nasty punches. But Sterling got the win. And, for me, if you're going to put a bantamweight against Cejudo next, it's going to be Sterling. It's got to be just based on who deserves it most. But does Ali Abdelaziz want to take that fight? I don't know. We'll see. But either way, I mean, I think he could actually make an interesting fight with Cejudo. But at this point, it's hard to say anyone's going to beat Cejudo, although Sterling stylistically might be the best guy to match up with against him. Next up, this was another great performance here. Another breakout performance. Alexa Grasso beats Karolina Kowalkiewicz by unanimous decision. I did pick Grasso in this fight. She was one of my prime picks. I really liked her in this matchup. First of all, I think Kowalkiewicz is on a huge decline at this point in her career. 3 straight losses now. She's 2-5 in her last 7 fights, so she's on a decline, no doubt about it. She had a good run here, but I don't know. I just don't know if her heart's in it anymore. That Jessica Andrade knockout loss last year really hurt her stock, and I think it changed her career a bit. She's just a little bit more gun shy right now. This was a good fight. Don't get me wrong. It was a war. I mean, Grasso, beat up Kowalkiewicz, and she's tough. She stood in there, but she doesn't move her head. Like Joe Rogan was talking about that the whole time. Her striking defense is not good, and that's not going to work against a boxer with such high level skills like Grasso. Her striking looked amazing in this fight. She's always been known for her striking. She was a standout in Invicta. Everyone thought she was going to be a huge star in the UFC. Struggled out of the gate. She lost to Felice Herrig. It was a bad loss. She lost to Tatiana. She got submitted by her. She barely beat Brandon Marcos, and she missed weight that fight. So she's had a mediocre start to her career, but this was the kind of performance she needed to break out. Dana White was very, he had high praise for her afterwards. And I think the UFC really likes her. So I like her too. I think she's a good fighter. She's young. She's only 25, and she looked great in this fight. So for me, Alexa Grasso, give her a top 10 opponent next time out. Of course, she beats Karolina. She probably deserves someone in the top 5. Some people are saying Joanna against Grasso. I think that's a really good fight. I don't know if she's ready for that, but it's a good fight. For Kowalkiewicz, though, they were talking about over the broadcast. She wants to start a family soon, but after she wants to, make an MMA run, I think that run might be over now. So it's up to her. She could probably still get another fight in the UFC. She's marketable. She's popular. She could probably go back to KSW if she wanted, but to me, it's at this point, what's the point? There's other things she can do with her life. She's 33 years old. It's just she's not really hasn't been competitive in her last couple of fights. She's been blown out in 3 straight fights, so she needs to either change something up or maybe call it a career. I don't know, but we'll see what happens with her. But yeah, great performance by Grasso. Another great performance opening up the ESPN portion of the prelims. Calvin Kattar knocks out Ricardo Lamas. Incredible performance by Calvin Kattar. Back-to-back knockout wins now over Chris Fishgold and Ricardo Lamas. Also knocked out Shane Burgos. He's 4-1 in the UFC. He lost a close decision to Renata Bacanio. That's it. The guy's looked amazing otherwise. Just a fantastic fighter. He's just really good. He's only 31, so he's in his prime. Ricardo Lamas still 37 now. He's getting finished in his fights now too, which is very concerning. Josh Emmett knocked him out. Calvin Kattar knocked him out. He's never had an amazing chin. I mean, back in the day in WEC, Yuri Alcantara knocked him out, and also Dan Castillo finished him. And Chad Mendes knocked him out too. So he's been knocked out quite a few times now. I don't think he'll retire. I think, he's had some tough fights. I mean, look who he's fought. Calvin Kattar, Darren Elkins, who he beat, Mirsad Bektic lost a close fight to him, and Josh Emmett, who's obviously very good himself. So he's just a good fighter. He's got some good wins, but it's concerning seeing a guy get knocked out that much and that often at age 37. So he's got a lot to work on as far as his striking defense. I mean, he gets clipped in his fights, and he doesn't have the chin to hold up. So unfortunately, it might be it's a situation where he's a little too old to make some changes. He's 37 now. I think Ricardo Lamas is the kind of guy who's that competitive. He has that spirit, and he wants to fight again, and I think he will fight. The UFC is going to Mexico. He makes sense to put on that card. If he gets knocked out again, though, it's another situation where maybe he should consider calling it a career. I think he'd be a great coach. I mean, I remember interviewing him with James back in the day on Park Shot. Very smart guy, very nice guy. But we'll see what happens with him. Still, great performance by Kattar. And he actually, I believe, said later that Dana White told him there's a card coming to Boston later this year. He's called the Boston Finisher. So that fight makes sense. That card makes sense for us, I should say. Who's he going to fight next? I don't know. Someone in the top 10 probably. This guy's amazing. I want to see him fight a top-ranked guy. He deserves it. He's a really good fighter. Just go through the early prelims here. Jian Yan beats Angela Hill by unanimous decision, 29-28 on all 3 cards. I did score the fight for Yan. The other guys at Sherdog had it for Hill. Very close fight. Could have went either way. I think Yan's lucky she got a unanimous decision out of this. It was close. It could have easily been a split. It could have easily went the other way, but she gets the win. She hasn't lost since 2010, so she's a really good fighter. 29 years old. She's in her prime. She's 4-0 now in the UFC. Again, hasn't lost in almost 10 years, so she's really good. She has a lot of experience. Definitely deserves something in the top 10 now. For Angela Hill, she's lost 3 of her last 4 fights, but she was competitive in this fight. That was her 3rd fight in, 3 months? So that's crazy, but good for her. She's keeping busy. She's making some money. It was a close fight. I think she actually is getting better, to be honest with you. I think she did look pretty good in this fight. She could have easily won the decision. No one would have said anything. So she'll get another fight in the UFC, but she probably has to win that one to stick around a little bit longer. Next up, Darren Stewart beats Pavon Lewis by unanimous decision. Terrible fight. Probably the worst fight in the card. I mean, the only other fight that was, I think, this ugly was the Ivanov Tubasa fight, but at least those guys were trying to knock each other out. This fight was just so bad. But Vaughn Lewis, I don't know what happened to this guy. That Uriah Hall fight, unfortunately, looks like it changed the way he thinks about fighting because he was winning the whole fight, gets KO'd, and then he played it really safe in this fight. It did not work out. Darren Stewart's an underrated guy, so I think we got to give Darren Stewart credit here. Won 3 of his last 4 fights. Could have easily beat Edmund Shabazi in his last fight. He could have been on a 4-fight win streak. He's a good fighter, no doubt about it. He's underrated, but for me, this is just disappointing by Pavon Lewis. Everyone's expecting him to win. He goes and loses the decision. Ugly fight. Does UFC keep Pavon Lewis around? I don't know. He doesn't have that many fights either. Maybe Contender Series is better for him. I don't know. Maybe they will give him another fight, but to me, this guy is just – he hasn't lived up to the hype in the UFC. He's got a lot to work on. For Darren Stewart, it's not the kind of performance that I think anyone wants, but he won the fight, so good for him. Next up, this was one of the better fights of the night as well. It kind of went under the radar because it was so early in the prelims, but Eddie Wineland knocks out Grigory Popov in the 2nd round. I mean, this was just a great performance by Wineland. He looked so good in this fight. Vintage performance. Experience does count for a lot in this sport. I think I kind of wrote him off a little bit. I thought he was on the decline. I think he is a little bit, but he didn't show it in this fight. This was a great performance by Eddie Wineland. Grigory Popov just did not look like he belonged in the same cage as him. Wineland beat him soundly for this fight, and then the end of the 2nd round knocks him out brutally with punches. Great performance by Wineland. I mean, this guy is still a top 15 guy in that division. Curious to see who they match him up with next. He's, as far as he could be a gatekeeper, and he would be probably the best gatekeeper in that weight class. So great performance by Wineland. Pavlov will be back. It was a very good fight, fun fight to watch. But clearly, this was too big of a step up for him, considering who would be fighting in his last couple of fights overseas. And opening up the card, Caitlin Chukagian wins a unanimous decision over Joanne Calderwood. I thought it was a close fight, but I did score for Chukagian. She did a little bit more. She just outstruck Calderwood. Calderwood, had some takedowns at points, and she had some good strikes herself. But Caitlin won the fight, and as sad as it seems, I mean, she's probably going to get the next title shot against Valentina. Is that fight competitive? I don't think so. And I think she should probably watch her head, because she probably gets KO'd in that fight too. She's a good fighter. Clearly, she's got 5-2 record in the octagon. She's not bad. I don't see that being a close fight at all. I think Valentina destroys her. So overall, a very good card. A very, very good card that has a lot to talk about afterwards. So those are the best kind of cards where there's so many storylines emerging from them. Amazing card. We'll see what happens. I mean, I'm sure we'll hear in the next couple of weeks and months who these guys are going to get matched up with next. But yes, I'd say one of the better cards of the year so far. I'd probably give it like an 8.5 out of 10, maybe a 9 out of 10. It was a really good card. All right, so that's done. Like I said, I talked about a lot there. Just a few other notes here, and we'll end the show. UFC, Dana White did announce in the post-fight press conference, UFC is coming back to Vancouver. So I'm excited about that. That's going to be awesome. Vancouver's a great city. This is going to be a fun card. From what we're hearing, it's going to be September 14th at Rogers Place for UFC Fight at 158. That's the rumored name and event and location right now. It makes sense. Looking forward to that. There's only one fight that's been rumored so far for that card. It's a heavyweight bout between Marcin, Tybura, and Augusto Sakai. Kombachi, I think, reported that fight, so it looks to be official anyways. I saw Augusto Sakai when I was in Rio. He was walking around the hotel. The guy's huge. I'm a big guy myself. This guy's really big. Undefeated in the octagon. He had that ugly fight against Arlovsky, but still managed to win somehow. So he's pretty good. And then Tybura has been very disappointing. It's an interesting fight. Tybura has the chance to win for sure, but Sakai seems to know how to get his hand raised. So I think you'd have to favor Sakai just based on his win streak. But I mean, Tybura matches up decently against him anyways. So interesting fight, but kind of strange they're matching up a Brazilian guy against a Russian guy. Or a Polish guy, I should say. Where's Tybura from? I should know this stuff. Where is he from? Marcin Tybura. Polish. I don't know why I said Russian, but yes, Polish. And because he fought M1, of course. That's why I said it. But yes, so that's an interesting fight, but we'll have to wait and see what the main event is. I don't know, like as far as Canadian content goes, who knows? I think UFC was banking on Elias winning that last fight, didn't win. So at this point, who's going to be in that card from Canada? Felicia Spencer's fighting in July. If she goes and beats Cyborg and quickly, maybe they could throw her back. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't know. Alexis Davis, I guess, will be on the card. She's another highly ranked Canadian, but there really isn't that many high-ranked Canadians. So you'll probably see an international main event here. And then the only other fight announcement on the weekend was Cynthia Calvillo, actually, I believe, broke her foot. She was at UFC 238, so she was one of the special guests, but she has an injury. She's out of her fight against Livia Renata Souza at UFC Sacramento, and taking her spot is Brianna Van Buren, who just won that tournament in Invicta. Brianna Van Buren is a really good fighter. I mean, she looked great in that tournament, pulling her record out. Here, let's see what she did in that tournament. Brianna the Bull Van Buren. The 8-2 record, she beat Kaylin Curran, Manji Kolakar, and Juliana Lima on the same night. So that's very impressive. But she's taking on Souza, who got her few in the UFC already. She beat Alex Chambers and Sarah Froda in the UFC on a 4-fight win streak. I got to favor Souza in this fight, but definitely Van Buren's a live dog. Just based on how good she looked in that tournament. She gets this fight to the ground, who knows what could happen. So that's pretty much it as far as news guys goes. I don't want to mention it, but Justin Bieber did call Tom Cruise, so you guys can go read the articles about that. That's the kind of stuff I'm not interested in, but for some reason the UFC's Twitter accounts and all the fighters are talking about it. I guess the UFC told them, hey, go talk about this, but I mean, come on. That's not the kind of stuff we want to see in the UFC promote. Fights between celebrities. If the sport becomes that, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I get it. Some of the biggest names in the world is in entertainment, but come on, guys. All right, so that's about it. Follow me on Twitter at MMAOB. This week, let's go through them. Okay, so MMAOddsbreaker.com. You can follow this podcast all week. I'll be doing it. I'm actually going away This weekend, I'm actually going. Ironically, I'm going to Chicago. We just had the card there. I'm going to Chicago for a couple days vacation, so I'm looking forward to that. But I will have 5 podcasts up. I won't be doing a preview show for Bellator this week with Cole because we only do UFC cards, so we're going to skip on that. But I will be doing one myself. I think I'll probably do it Thursday, so you guys can watch it Thursday or Friday. What else? I'll have opening odds there for that as well. Over at Sherdog.com, I sent in my insane prop bets and my beating the books for UFC 238. 4 underdogs won. Go read the article. Some crazy prop bets one as well. Check that article out. And I should be doing a Prime Picks article for Bellator. Hopefully the odds come up for that. What else? PJPen.com. I'll have news all week. Any sort of news that breaks, I'll be on the pulse writing for them. MMA ratings on that. I just sent one in on Tony Ferguson and why he deserves a title shot. And MMAnews.com. I have my top 7 takeaways from UFC 238. So guys, check all that stuff out. Follow me on Twitter at MMAOB. Follow this podcast. Subscribe to this podcast. I appreciate the support, guys. I'll be back tomorrow morning talking about the latest news in MMA. Go Raptors tonight. Please, Raptors win. Take it home. Bring the championship to the North. Have a good night, guys, and I'll see you later.